Hello, and welcome to Hide and Seek. Join us for conversations in how to help you become more of who you are and allow people to see the real you. Today, we're going to talk about breaking the cycle and birthing the change. All about how do we break those cycles of habits and patterns that we are living with, no matter where they came from. How do we change them and then birth who you are and bring the real you into conversations and your life and live more your soul aligned life, the soul that you are, and living and attracting to you all that you desire. So let me introduce our fabulous panel here. Sunshine from Soul Infinity Soul Connection and Alana. Sunshine, would you like to share who you are and what you do?
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm Sunshine. I'm an international medium, an energy healer, and a soul spiritual life coach and author. So thank you for having me here today. I love what I do. I'm very passionate about it. And I'm all about change all the
Yes.
time, in every moment.
Alana, who are you and what do you do?
Hi, everyone. I'm Alana from Prosperity Alignment, and I am a cosmic prosperity activator. So let's think of prosperity beyond the financial, the money, it's the currency, it's the flow, and it's also beyond just this lifetime or this physical body. And it's going out into the ether and recognizing that our soul is infinite and we are very powerful beings, and so it's an honor to be here to have these conversations because they're so important, especially in this time. And I love the topic today because there's lots of cycles to break.
And I love how you already mentioned that we are powerful beings, right? Everybody is super powerful. And I know that all of us really help our clients to step more into their power and use it to become that magnet to attract all that they desire. So, for those of you who are new to me, I'm Jacqueline Kane, master energy healer, low back pain specialist, helping people heal their bodies and triple and quadruple whatever you want for your income. So, let's talk about breaking the cycle. What cycle are we breaking? We've mentioned before that awareness is the first step. First, we have to become aware that we're doing things that just aren't serving us anymore. And we've talked also, where did those habits and patterns come from and how ingrained they are inside of us. And so, how do we take the steps to break the cycles? And each one of us have shared all many tools and processes that each of us take our clients through. Sometimes it's not a one solution for each person, it's multidimensional because we are. But it's about taking the first step and seeing what happens in habits and patterns are you finally ready to let go of. This is 2025. It's the year to let it all go, and take baby steps because it's about becoming somebody that you may have never been before, right? Saying things the way you say them and just being yourself. So, Sunshine, what are your thoughts about? And you mentioned that you love change. So, what are your thoughts on all that?
Well, I think that we're divine souls here to have a human experience, right? To love, to evolve, to heal, which means moving forward in all things to me, to evolve. And if we look at scientific or however one's mind might work, we're always changing. Like our skin's changing, our cells are changing, but we just, for some reason, find a comfort zone in beliefs that aren't even ours necessarily, and it can keep us stuck. Um, so, and even in conversation, especially nowadays, right? Like with everything that's going on and transpiring, I think our words are very powerful. really powerful, because if we think or feel something, it's out there in the universe, let alone speak it, it brings it forth. So examples, you know how sometimes you're in conversations and you may feel like, ooh, it's not something for me. Well, why do we stick around, right? Why wouldn't we remove ourselves? Our life force is so precious. So that is something that I would choose to do, right? Say politics is not my thing. I can have the awareness spiritually, but I'm not going to feed that vibration and frequency, right? And give it chocolates and treats and candy. So I will remove myself from a conversation. And I'm just giving politics as an example, because I would rather be where we're enlightened, right? Where I can be myself and I can not tap into the things that suppress me. So I would choose to remove myself. But there's so many of us that stay in the conversations that we cannot be ourselves. And I choose not to do that. There'll be the odd time for some people, say if it's a work environment or whatever, it's more challenging to do so, but we have to find that way, right, on where we can remain ourselves and, put out into the universe, out into that oneness, what our belief system is, rather than feeding another vibration frequency that is not our belief system.
So true. And it's scary to change. It's so much easier for so many people to stay in our confines of resistance and lack and discomfort instead of actually taking the steps and practicing being something different. Not many people have been raised to say, well, who are you? What would you like to do? And let's try different things. So you bring up a really important point that even some people get to the point where they're going to prove why they can't be different, why your way isn't the right way. And they're going to hold on to their beliefs and patterns. So great point, Sunshine. How about you, Alana?
What's coming to me is everyone has a different perspective. So where are you starting in your perspective? Because I'm a big picture person. So I actually zoom out and let's just say I see the collective. I see humanity. And there's that piece of the puzzle. And then if we start to step in, we're going to have the tribe. We're going to have our community. We're going to have our family. But then when we go further in, we're here. It's us, it's the individual. And so whether you zoom out or whether you start from that place, if your perspective is, I'm going to start here and break the cycle here, right? That becomes the ripple. And that's the part where even if I zoom out, I can't start here, but that's where I can see what's going on. And then I can step back inward, or I can be here in this perspective and only ever see me. And maybe I never zoom out to the family and community level or the tribe. And then maybe I don't really zoom out into the collective and humanity. So no matter where you are in the perspective, we still have to know all of these parts that come in to form the whole. And if we're here to break a cycle, it's very easy for someone to be here and be like, well, the world needs to change. It starts here. So how are you going to impact that change? How are you going to be that ripple? Or if you're zooming out and you're like, oh, humanity has to change, you can't go around and like have your petitions and be like, we all need to change. Everyone's going to resist it. Nobody wants to break the cycle. And so just to recognize this perspective, because even if somebody's like, maybe they start in the family and their family is everything, they are constantly going to kind of project onto the family how the family has to change and the family needs to do all this stuff. But again, you either have to come back inward and recognize that you're that ripple, that you're that part. And so what is the cycle? There's a lot of cycles to break, right? Like we can all see outside, we can all see humanity, what needs to change on the earth, all that stuff. But again, that's how we start to dissociate or disconnect from, oh, but that's not for me to change. I'm just this one being. Even though we started the conversation saying you're a powerful being. What power do you have? Oh my gosh, you have so much. You have so much power to start to change it. So just to yeah, kind of recognize, where are you in that ripple? Do you even realize that you're the ripple? Because again, if there's things going on in your personal life, it's impacting your tribe, and let's just say that is your family, or it could be your coworkers. What are you bringing to the table to continue and perpetuate said
Yeah.
cycle? Or what are you going to do to change it within yourself? Because that's the only thing you can control.
Mhm. Yeah, and it has to start with you, with my everybody as an individual. And you bring up a good point. No one likes to be told what to do. And yet I feel that there's so much of that going on. Everybody's being told what to do, how to do it, um, which can lead us down that path of blame and lead us down that path of frustration and negativity. And so we did talk about being powerful. We are either going down that downward spiral or we're on that upward trajectory, right? Either way, I'm the common denominator that's creating more of that in my life, right? Which is pretty powerful. Once you realize you're the one who's doing it, or I'm the one who's doing it, or at least has an impact on it, that means we can also change it from that level, from our thinking. So, what if we share some steps of when you're confronted with something, how do we cause that? How do we change our reaction to it? Right? I know for me, I've learned to, because most people, we react. We're triggered and we just react and we kind of puke all over everybody, like why they're wrong or why I just all of a sudden feel uncomfortable. Um, but I had to learn and practice to just take a step back and not feel the need to like push my agenda on somebody. So I think for me, the first thing is taking a step back and just taking a breath and figuring out what just happened or where we're at and what's the best way to handle it without triggering more and creating more negativity or whatever it is. Um, Alana, would you like to?
Sure. It it is that awareness piece. We bring up different episodes, and what you just said, taking the breath. And that's just giving you pause to reset your nervous system, allow you to create some space. Because if you don't have the space, you're either going to just disassociate and run away, or you're going to explode and get aggressive. And it's all those nervous system responses that can happen: fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, or whatever those are. And those are ingrained in you, they're patterns. And so to break any cycle, you have to break the pattern. You have to break this reactive person that's been inside of you thinking this is the only path. And yet, we're having you stop and take that breath, take the pause to realize, okay, I'm at the fork in the road. And which which path do I want to take? And if yes, your neural pathway is going to be a Grand Canyon, and it is going to feel like, oh, this is the only way, and the water flows through here. This is where the river's going, and that's the only way I have. But in that breath, you get to actually start to forge a new pathway. You get to create a new road. And maybe you are off-roading and it feels like it's a jungle and you don't have a machete to cut through. But that's why you take the breath, because you can start to see what's before you. And now you can ask. And asking a question before this person, asking, wait, am I hearing you correctly? This is what, to ask a question helps you to start to see what's before you in a way that maybe you just never could see before. And asking is also huge. If you really are in front of this pathway of a jungle and you don't have a machete, you can ask spirit, you can ask your highest self, this part of you, to ask for guidance or ask for what you need. And then that's how things start to show up. And maybe there really is something that presents, or there's a new way to move through the jungle. But that's the very same thing you can do in this human experience, in this confrontation, in this trigger point, where you can ask the question, to at least start to have clarity. And then maybe you start to realize, oh, wow, it's not such a jungle. I have more clarity. I can see through because you just gave me the answer. You just told me you actually are coming from here, and I took it a totally different way. And that's how I was going to start to blow this whole thing up. And so anytime that we are in this trigger point, having the awareness to even just breathe, create the space, allow yourself to change the pattern, how you break the cycle, and asking a question, whatever that is, be the kid, right? If you're the curious child, you don't know what mom and dad are asking usually. You don't know exactly what's going on. So we just ask, why? 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 And it could be just that. It could be one word. What? Why? You know what I mean? Because maybe you don't even have the words yet. But when you start to be in this space more and more, you're going to realize you do have the ability to ask the question and go, did you mean it this way? Are you upset right now? And you are so intuitive. You're going to already be feeling so many things, and maybe it's not yours, and that's for you to ask the question.
Brilliant. Yes, I love asking questions. And even one I've lately liked is, isn't that curious that you feel that way? Sunshine, how about you?
Oh, I love what you both have shared. And I love that curiosity, wonder, and surprise. And to, um, have come from a place where we do have that childlike, right? We're not so serious with tree roots up our bum, kind of thing, that we can be like open. So the one thing that if there's a conversation or something happening that we may be triggered, the one thing too of what we've already talked about is, the not personalizing it. Right? We automatically go into something when we're uncomfortable with a very narrow tunnel vision, and like we personalize and we distort it so much that it's not even about us. It may be somebody that everybody's perception, like Alana had just shared, is so different. So we get so much distortion in everything, right? So what we're discussing here, Jacqueline is going to have a response to. Alana is going to have a response to. I'm going to have we can say a sentence, but I love everybody's uniqueness. It would be pretty damn boring if we were all the same on Earth, right? I love that we're all so, like, just so different, but they want to line us up and make us all the same. And I love that uniqueness. So that's how we're trained to personalize everything, right? To take away our empowerment, because we just go into this like shutdown. So no matter what's happening, we're going to, even if it's a sentence, we're all going to, our perception of it is going to be completely different. If we're in conversation, even with two people, and we try to restate that conversation, it's never going to be exactly the same because we're so unique. The time and the energy has changed. And so I would say, out of all the steps that we've been discussing, don't personalize it. If you've been triggered, don't personalize it. Take a breath, right? Get clarity on it. Don't personalize it. And just, what is the lesson here? What is the golden nugget? What is transpiring right now? So that is what I would say, is just do not go or feel and personalize, because when we personalize, we're actually comparing ourselves in a way, right? So, we're huge, we're massive, and then we can feel just like small and belittled. And we do that a lot it may be a work environment, it might be society, and it might be relationships that we're choosing, even with our families, right? Where we just are small, right? We allow ourselves to be belittled. We don't think of what we say can make a difference, or what we think or feel. I love, Elaine, I think you mentioned it. No matter what situation I'm in, I do always drop it to the soul, right? To my heart, and I feel it from there. And then my response is going to be from there. If I am somebody that just goes, "Whoa," that is not me. And I will have more feelings around myself because a situation's made me become not myself, right? I've never been much of a yeller. If I do, I have consequences because of that. So when a situation's made us not become ourselves, there's so many other feelings that come, right? And we shrink automatically. So to not, to take a breath, to actually get clarity, to be able to feel that from our heart and not personalize it. And we might not at the time be able to see or feel the treasures and gifts and lessons, that response that's happening, right? Like it's happening for a reason. There's something there, right? And look for the positive, look for the growth opportunity. So thank you.
Yeah, and that's birthing the change, right? This is all helping you to create and get in touch with your soul's desires. Because underneath all of these restrictions and the triggering, way down deep inside of us is our soul, who really wants to come out and shine. But she can't, because she's filled and she's carrying the weight of the world. So when you start taking a breath, when you start asking questions, when you stop personalizing everything, guess what? You get to be yourself, and you get to create this life that you desire. And the funny thing is, I work with many women who are between 40, 50, 60 years old. And most of us don't even know what we really like or what we really desire, because we haven't given that space to create and go into that. So, what are some ways that we can help people birth the change? And one of the things that I love helping, if you're out there and you're listening to this and you realize, yeah, I don't know what I like. One of the things I love doing is just get paper and pen. If you write down all the things you don't like that are happening in your life, then create on the other side of the paper the opposite of that. And that's one way to at least start thinking about it. But what are your ideas, Alana?
So first piece, I know you already said it's about baby steps. And the thing that I always come back to is anytime you're birthing something, what's the gestational period? Like, it's not instantaneous. It's not tomorrow. It is not, you're going to suddenly create a new river through and create a new Grand Canyon overnight. It's going to take some time. So give yourself that time and space, right? You're not pushing for 9 months to birth a child. You're resting, you're allowing, you're surrendering, you're receiving. There's a lot of feminine energy, and we don't really understand that on the planet because we're just used to the masculine, like pushing and forcing. And so, even if there is this part of you that's like, I need this to change, you're already saying how it has to be. And spirit is the how it's going to show up in the right timing. And so, what gets in the way of this is our own frequency, our own vibration, and to me that comes from the emotional place. So as much as we can feel that anxiety or that sense of urgency and desperation, lack and scarcity, all of these really lower vibrations that are on the planet that force us to push to make the change, where are you with those energies? And
Mm.
there could be some apathy, there could be some shame and guilt, but there could also be some anger, and all of this is okay. It's just, what is going to help ignite this change, right? And you can tap into that, and maybe you do start to see where you've been apathetic and you just didn't have the energy, and there's certain things that are draining you. That's the baby step for you to start to even just have a discernment, put the boundary in place, maybe say no, pull yourself away from certain people or certain situations, and you start to feel a little lighter, a little bit more vibrant. Maybe you start to come alive. That's going to help you to take the next steps, whatever those may be when they come into play. If you have other emotions, when you feel them, right? Like maybe it does feel like it's weighting you down and you're stuck at the bottom of the ocean. And so as you release and process and move through, just to even have the awareness, you can turn what we said earlier, asking questions, you can turn that inward and start to ask yourself, like, what is this feeling? What is this emotion? What is this vibration or frequency that is stuck in me or I've been carrying? And then even more, is it even mine? That's huge because sometimes it wasn't yours. It was everybody else's. And when you can suddenly free yourself, you're free to choose now what you say yes to, how you want to feel, and your vibration can start to shift and you just bubble, you right? You start to rise up to the surface until, I don't know, you get to see what's above the water and you're no longer drowning.
Yeah. So many good nuggets. Yes, boundaries, saying no, stop saying yes, resting, allowing, so much great information. Sunshine, what's coming up?
Oh, I loved what you just shared, and I can feel like I love that the how you described it. You know, we're gonna have lower vibrational feelings because that's where the lessons and treasures or gifts are, I feel, from spirit. And then yeah, so I'm just gonna talk about how like I believe in everything that we're changing. So if it's changing a pattern, if it's changing a belief system, when we break it down, I like to look at it as we are going through transitions all the time, but sometimes major transitions. And nobody speaks about in a transition something that we knew ends, right? Like it's no longer existing. So it's like, stop, put the brakes on. So say if it's a relationship, we've ended a intimate relationship, we'll just say, right? So it came out of nowhere, we might feel, right? Or we're changing a pattern on like we do the same thing over and over again and we end up in the same place. Whatever the transitions happened, those brakes are on. And a lot of us can remain, they're just there, right? Riding the brakes if there's any movement. And feeling like we're drowning, right? Feeling like nobody understands. Our voice doesn't mean anything, nothing ever changes. So we're sitting there on the brakes. The next part of a transition is actually the limbo stage where we create. What do we want next? That curiosity, that wonder, that surprise. Where's the new beginning going to be? What's my new belief system? What is it that I'm experiencing? Or I don't know if you've ended a relationship, right? I'm single now. What am I going to do for growth within me, right? Um, so that is the second stage of a transition, which nobody speaks of. And a lot of us will skip and go from the ending to a new beginning, the third stage, right? Without creating. And then what happened? We're in the same situation, right? Like, so when there's change, there's 3 steps to transition: the ending, the limbo stage, the second stage, on where you can create whatever you desire, whatever you like. I'm tired of feeling like worried, overwhelmed, stress, lack of, right? I want to change it to like abundance and bliss and joy and peace and have a belief system, right? But how do you get there? You're going through a transition, right? So stage 1 of a transition, ending, brakes on, stop, right? Second, it's not good to skip the second because that's where we create. That's where we can bring in, we can be like a superhero that's full of bliss, right? We can satisfy ourselves in all moments, no matter what we're doing. So we can create whatever we're desiring. So we're bringing that into our heart. We're feeling it, we're desiring it, we're speaking it. And so it's going to come forth in that third step of transition is a new beginning. And nobody ever speaks about that kind of stuff, right? We're just left out there kind of floating around on like, oh, the same thing's happening. Why is it happening? Right. And a new beginning can feel like the rebirth, right? Depending on what it is. So
Yeah.
thank you, ladies.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is, something is ending, right? Whether it's the old us and we're creating the new one. And it's kind of like planting a new seed at that point. What are we germinating? What are we growing? So many great points. Thank you, ladies, for this amazing conversation. And for those of you watching, we'd so love to hear what's coming up for you. What are you deciding to say, I'm not doing that anymore? And what are you birthing? There's no time like the present to start creating something new. The world wants to see you and get to know you. So thank you again, ladies, for this conversation. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen out there for listening. We are Hide and Seek, and we hope to see you next time. Bye.